Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Baden, and I'm so grateful that we get to spend some time together. I'm going to be introducing you to one of my favorite people on the planet. Yay! But before we do that, let's just take a few deep breaths together so I can calm down, get ourselves grounded and centered. If you are driving, please always keep your eyes on the road, but you can still bring your awareness to your breath. And just allowing yourself to breathe into your belly, breathing in the energy of expansion, breathing out whatever you no longer need. And really preparing our body, mind, and spirit to receive this inspiration that we're going to hear today to help you magnify your miracles. And as you feel that energy, that you've received this inspiration, this guidance, that's really going to help you today. Let's just feel that gratitude energy, flooding the body, flooding the mind with gratitude. And taking one more deep breath together in gratitude. And we can begin. All right, my friend. Well, I'm so excited to be with you today and to get to introduce you to such a wonderful human being on this planet. Somebody who I know can really help you, depending upon where you are in your journey of magnifying your miracles, especially around the energy of leadership. We're going to be talking a lot about that today. So let me tell you a little bit about the fabulous Jen Symansky. She is, I love this phrase, a corporate leader in recovery, And she now owns her own boutique consulting and coaching business called Symmetrics, where she specializes in both organizational help, leadership development, employee engagement, as well as working with people one-on-one. She works with a variety of clients, nonprofits, small and mid-sized businesses, and she does use an integrative approach in partnership with all of her clients, encouraging them to nurture a growth mindset, which we're going to talk about that, and future visions with limitless possibilities. She's extremely passionate about helping high-performing women thrive in their role with her unique signature brand, Learning to Lead You, which we're going to be talking about, Learning to Lead You. Learning to Lead You is a program aimed at empowering participants to improve individual well-being, move into their authentic power, foster their leadership capabilities through professional and personal growth, and engage in meaningful, purposeful connections with other like-minded women. You're going to find out more about that and how you can get involved in that. She also does Learning to Lead You VIP coaching, which is more one-on-one, which I highly recommend. But the thing that's great about Jen is that she really leads her business from a place of heart, which you are about to see, heart, joy, and gratitude. And she is also a client of mine. So in full disclosure, I just have to say it's been my great joy to work with her in my private mentoring program. So please help me welcome the fabulous Jen Symansky.
Ooh. Yay! Hi, Frances. Oh my gosh, I have this I don't know, this feeling inside of me that I'm like, I just want to get up and jump.
Yeah. Well, that's how you make people feel. That's how you make people feel. It's so awesome. And I'm just so excited to let people know about, first of all, your amazing journey and where you were, where you've been. I think a lot of listeners are going to be able to relate to you and your story. But I always like to start out by asking the same question, since this is Magnify Your Miracles. What is your definition of a miracle?
Well, I'm an avid listener of the podcast, so I knew that was coming. And I'm actually like a major planner and organizer. So I sat down and did some thinking about this. And my husband's like, it's supposed to come from your heart. And I said, well, what comes to me is these, when you experience an unexpected moment of joy or awe in something. And actually, I experienced that last night because this is kind of a two-part answer. I was chatting with my little boy, Christopher, who you know very well, who is 7. And I was telling him that I was doing this with you today. And he said, well, what are you going to talk about? And I said, well, I know we're going to talk about what it means what a miracle means. And he said, like, without any thought or question, and with this just like authentic smile on his face, he said, well, that's when you quietly talk to God, and then God talks back to you. And I was like, wow, that is so sage. I just looked at him, but at that same time, I felt that like unexpected moment of joy when he said that. And so that sums it up for me. I think it's those just unexpected moments of joy when you experience something that you're like, wow, I just can't
I love
explain
that.
this. Yeah. So it was great. It was synchronistic.
Yeah, I know whose little boy that is. That's his answer. I know who his mama is. That's for sure. Well,
Yeah.
I love that unexpected piece of joy because, I'm very selective about who I bring onto my podcast. My listeners know I don't just have person after person. I really cherry pick every person because I want to make sure that the people that I invite, first of all, that I want to talk to them, but second of all, that I know that you can help people to magnify their miracles. And this unexpected joy, I've actually heard this from people that have worked with you, that you help them. They might not know that that's what's going to happen, but you actually help people to find that joy in places that they might not otherwise find it. So I was curious if you would share with us, like, what does it mean to be in recovery from the corporate leadership world? Like, and how did you get to be from there to where you are now doing this fabulous work, helping women step into their authentic energy and power?
Yeah. Well, I was in the corporate world for over a decade. And the person who I thought I should be was in that job, in that role. And it, quite frankly, I didn't know this was my inner voice and my inner guidance back then because I wasn't at a place of self-awareness, but the place where I am now, but I could always feel this just doesn't feel right. And I don't know what it is. And then when I had my son, everything changed for me. I was traveling a bunch, but when I was traveling, I was having anxiety, and I felt like I was just, I was, I was doing and I wasn't being. And that just didn't feel right to me. I felt like there has to be more than this. And the feeling of fear, which so often for me took over. And instead of leaving and following probably what my heart was trying to tell me inside, but I was quieting that inner voice,
Mm-hmm.
I stayed. And I remember laying on the floor with him several times praying, please, because I was so miserable and I was sad inside and I was struggling. And I just remember praying as he was falling asleep, please show me the way. Please show me what it is you want me to do. Show me where you want me to be, because I know this isn't right. But I was fearful of leaving because I was like a major contributor to our household income. And I always approached money from a place of scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an identity there that I was afraid of losing. And I just also was afraid of the unknown, of what it was going to be like on the other side. And so the prayer was answered for me, not in the way, I mean, looking at it now, I can see that. But back then I was like, what on earth, how I was let go from a position and I was completely shocked from it. And it was hurtful. And I took a lot of time to think about what was next and be thoughtful. And it really kind of pushed me to go within and be in stillness and be in the discomfort. And it's been a journey, but actually this amazing journey that I've been on for the past almost 5 years has completely formed the business that I am building today and the way in which I lead. Life and work and just approach relationships. So I enjoyed what I did. I had a ton of wonderful experiences. I met great people, and it really set me up for where I am now. And so that's how I got here to this place with you today, and have such a passion about working with women who I think sit in that same place, but are afraid to become who they're really meant to be, or they feel like they need to conform, or there's a specific role that they need to be playing. So it's really important to me to help them see that there even if you're doing what you're doing, if there's more joy to be realized, how do you find that?
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. So what I'm hearing is you really have the experience on both sides. Like you know what it is to be in the corporate environment. You know what it is to have your own business. You can kind of walk, both sides, and such deep compassion for women who are maybe they're still in whatever their job is and they're thinking about what might be the next thing or can I do it? And my understanding is that in your work, it's not like people have to leave their corporate jobs. It's really about how can they be more of who they are, like you said, breaking out of that thing of who you thought you should be to be more authentic, whether you're no matter what your work situation is. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. And some of the things that we really pull on in learning to lead you is how do you strengthen those sort of more feminine qualities of leadership that actually the world needs more of, period. Empathy, compassion, vulnerability, that to pull those through in your leadership is actually a real strength, and it benefits all of you, and it benefits those around you. Then they feel the safety in being vulnerable and showing empathy and showing compassion and feeling like they can have an honest conversation. So you can have more of that if you're in a corporate position, if you're in an entrepreneurial position. Either way, that's something that we focus on. And your values, what is really important to you? That's one thing that I'm not even sure I assessed when I was in that position, because I was doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And then coming to this point of, well, and you and I have talked about this a lot. If I go back through my journals, it's how do I want to feel? What do I want to be experiencing? How do I actually want to choose to live this life? And I never, when you first introduced those concepts to me, I was like, wow, I have the choice, or
Yeah.
I have the power to do that. I have that within me. So that was huge. And that's something that I thread through with others now as well.
I love that, and I've witnessed it, and I see that you do that, and this leadership piece I think is so important right now because we have a very, I think, one-dimensional idea of like what it is to be a leader, and I find that most women have difficulty owning that aspect of themselves, and yet they so are like in their homes and with their families or whatever that might be. But this idea of learning to lead you, like share with us, I mean, I know what I think it means. Share with people so they have a clearer idea, like, do I need to learn to lead me? Like, what does it mean to learn to lead you?
Mhm. Self-awareness is this, it just keeps coming to me when I think of learning to lead you. And when I say that, it's from the point of really, who are you? Who are you? And then and being comfortable with that, who you want to be, how you want to show up in the world, and then fully embodying that. um, I think for women in our culture these days, there's so much of, the world has told you that you should be this way, you need to think this way, you need to carry out these certain roles, whether it's in with your family or your social circle, or wherever, your business. And it's, if that's not fitting, and you know that my word for this year is truth, you're not standing in your truth, you're not, then who are you? So I think learning to lead you is actually like, is being with yourself, being giving yourself the chance to be in that stillness and having that honest, quiet conversation with yourself. What is important to me? How do I want to show up in the world? Who do I actually want to be here? And then bringing the habits and the rituals into play that allow you to do that. So I was listening to somebody speak last week, and she said, be comfortable with who you are and work on you, but you're not a project. You're not like going to get to this. Like,
Right.
oh, I have finished myself. I am.
Put it on the shelf. There I am.
Exactly. Like, it's an evolution. And the person that I was, and we've talked about this, the person that got me here isn't the person that's going to get me there. And how am I evolving? So it's having those conversations with yourself and allowing yourself to be uncomfortable, but also being kind and gentle with yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the things I've observed, because, I would say my own practice, my mentoring practice is probably 99.5% women. So I've worked with women a lot. And one of the issues that I've seen, I don't want to really call it a mistake, but I will say it's something that can slow you down, is I've noticed that women take on, because we're in this patriarchal society, we take on a lot of the male ideas of success or achievement. And a lot of that is going it alone, and like thinking that, like, okay, I'm gonna do this, gonna be in my room by myself, doing it all myself. And I really value alone time, but what I find is that we just tend to go around in our mind, and it's difficult without that feedback and that support from other people. And one of the things that I've loved about the work that you do, yes, you do things one-on-one with people, but you also invite people into these group kind of situations, these group kind of programs. And I found that women tend to thrive when they're part of some kind of support system. It's almost like, we're being held up by each other. There's some kind of permission that happens. And why, for you, it's like that aspect of the Learning to Lead You program. Tell us how important that is, the fact that you're with other people.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the energy that's created when they're together. And I saw this, that women can be mean and competitive with each other to try and get ahead because of that kind of more patriarchal way of working. So they feel like they have to pull on the mask. Not that men are mean, believe, like, that's not what I'm saying here, but they're like, they really have to push to get ahead. And so bringing women together in a collective group like this, where they actually support each other, when that happens, like, something changes in the room and they leave with smiles on their faces and confidence. And then not only that, there are people that have been in my groups together that didn't know each other, maybe never would have met, and they go on and they continue to be supportive of each other. And it's bringing the like-minded people into the room, and sort of finding that tribe. And when it's women, empowering women is such a gift. And I never thought of this until recently, but my training, my education, I'm a dietitian. So I come from a family of nurses and teachers, like all the traditional kind of female roles. And when I was leading an organization, I was leading largely dietitians, and so women. And this never even dawned on me, but it was innate in me then. We come together, we come from a place of strengths, we come from a place of, lifting each other, empowering each other. So I guess it's always been there. And so when I get in that energy, I just feel like I can conquer the world. like the sign behind you, anything is possible. And you really feel that way. Yeah.
I've really seen that's a big piece that's missing for a lot of women in any field. This belief of being like the Lone Ranger, the solo warrior. And personally, I actually don't think it works that well for men, but that's a different conversation. But it definitely doesn't really work for women. And the more we try to do that, I actually think that that mean thing that you're talking about that I've seen can come up too, that mean competitive thing, I think that comes from being out of alignment with the way that we're
Mm-hmm.
naturally, and it
Mm-hmm.
creates stress. And then you want to
Mm-hmm.
relieve that stress. So it's like, if I need to be mean to you so I can relieve my stress, I'm going to do it. And yeah, to me, it's more symptomatic than anything else.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, that's a great question. I'm wondering, so some people might not think, oh, I need to step into my leadership energy. Um, and yet that might be exactly what, needs to be happening like for themselves. Because like I said, we have this really kind of patriarchal idea of leadership. And yet in my work with Mother Mary, she's been really encouraging me and everybody that I work with, like, be the leader in your own life. It starts what you're saying with leading yourself. What are some things that people might be able to think about to see, like, is this something that, am I struggling with this? Is this something that would be helpful for me? What are some symptoms, I guess we could say, of that you're not leading you, that you're not
Mm.
doing that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to note that this is not a mainstream leadership development program.
Yay.
I am not teaching you to be like a good leader in work. Like, I'm not teaching strategy. I'm not teaching, I could do that stuff, but it's really more about like you as how you are leading in your life. I think if you're feeling, the word alignment comes to me all the time. Like, if something triggers you, why does that trigger you? Are you in a relationship with a friend or a colleague or something that's causing you distress? Why is it causing you distress? Well, what does not align with your personal values or how you manage relationships? So it's understanding it. It's having you as your best friend. Like, you have to be with you all the
I
time.
love that. So learning to lead you is having you as your best friend. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, going through this journey for me over the past 5 years, and when we talk about women in support of women, and the many, many times where I have wanted to just, every other day at 12, 4, and 6, I'm like, I'm quitting. I'm done. I can't. This is not working for me. And then I stop and I have rational thought. Like, I actually go back to myself, right? I'm like, those are thoughts. That is not truly me. That is not really how I feel. And one of the things that anchors me is I can count on both hands immediately, and then I run out of fingers, of the amazing women who are backing me. You and Julie Riesler and other women that I'm working with. I always have cheerleaders. And if I have those moments, I know who I can call to support. So I think I went off script on that a little bit, but it's like, you are the first person to anchor you, and then see where you need, support to come in. Because
I love it.
yeah.
I would love to touch a little bit on what you just said, like about relationships. How has how have your relationships
Mm.
um, changed? I'll just put it changed since
Mhm.
you feel like you have been learning to lead yourself in your own life. How do you think? How has your home environment changed? How has it changed?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I'll start with home because that's my favorite. Um, I have this adorable little family that just is the like the major source of joy for me. And since I have learned to lead myself, I feel like everything from an energetic perspective has shifted here. And don't get me wrong, I have a 7-year-old, so so like we have challenging moments, um and we've done like the homeschooling, and we've been going through the pandemic with him, and we've had, my husband retired from the military 7 years ago, and that's brought with it its challenges. But since I have been doing this work, I've I feel like I've opened up kind of a different perspective for everybody to look through. One of which is possibilities and looking at it from a place of strength and opportunity. And, everything that we do in our house needs to come from a place of kindness. We do a lot of celebrating and just holding each other in full, like, love and support. And so there are days that you have to kind of like work a little bit harder on that, but I think that's just how we've shifted. And we have really looked at how does energy impact our lives, from the food we eat to the mattresses we sleep on to exercise. And it's energy is everything. And we're so prayerful. Everything is we pray, and we center on our faith.
Mm-hmm.
And so that home has really shifted over the past couple of years.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
One of the things I was going to also mention about that is, since you and I have worked together, some of what you talked about, and I think a lot of women relate to this, some of what you talked about in the beginning of, like, in the corporate world, I thought I had to be this person. There was a little bit of that at home. I remember when we very first started working together, you're like, no, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have to be. And that's one of the things that I've seen shift in you. There's so much more peace for you. And you've been telling me there's a lot more peace in your home because of it.
Yeah. And since I have, and this is, I think, and you, besides my husband, probably know me best in the world, my deepest, darkest. And I think I have just recently gotten to the place where I'm like, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with me, and I am here, and I've done a lot of just letting go of the idea of perfection and having to be it all and have it all. And that's something I think I've been working on a lot over the past 6 months, just being who I want to be in the world versus who my surroundings, my environment maybe feels like it's dictating otherwise.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I just feel like I'm like flowing a little bit better. It's like there's a little more harmony because I'm not struggling. I'm like, no, I don't want to put the full face on today and feel like I need to be perfect at carpool pickup. I'm going as is. And, or, it's just one of the things that I struggled with was I should be working. I should be full time because that's what everybody else is doing, or I should be just momming it full time. But this like idea of I'm going to go upstairs and play for a couple hours on something that actually brings me joy and I know can impact others, like that's okay. And then I'm going to go pick my son up. Right. And then I'm going to mom it. It's been freeing. It's been really freeing. And since I've done that, I think my work is showing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect.
I think it's showing through.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, we're recording this in the beginning of 2022. You might be listening to this at some other point, but we are recording it, and we still have some pandemic energy going on. And I'm curious your experience. I've been seeing a lot of people during this time reevaluating. A lot of people reevaluating, a lot of women thinking, is this really working for me? Is this really what I want to be doing? Lots of really, really big questions, and not necessarily having a container to hold those kind of big questions. And so now we're going on this in March, it'll be 2 years ago, like however long it's been. It's just like, it's a really good time for people, I think, to do some of these deeper questions, because we're trained from the time that we're born that our circumstances lead us. So is the economy going well? If the economy is going well, then I'll do this. If the economy is not going well, then I'll do this, which is all externally based. And as highly sensitive people, which I know you are, I am, and most of our listeners are, it can be challenging not to let our circumstances and our environment be what leads us and be what decides for us. So I'm curious for you with this time period right now. It seems like it's really ripe for this. What have you seen with people with the pandemic and being able to kind of reevaluate and go through a transition?
Um, with the pandemic, I, and a transition, I think with pandemic or otherwise, some of these folks who are reevaluating, and women in particular, what it is they want to do, or if they're doing something that makes them happy. I think when you and your circumstances dictate situations, I think when you start asking yourself those questions, you have to be prepared for what answers come.
Exactly.
You know?
I know exactly. Keep going.
Yeah. Because you start asking yourself the questions, what do I really want? And if you're in the position where you let your heart really guide you, it may tell you something that's counterintuitive to what you think in that world you've been living in. And are you prepared to follow that? And if you are there certain things you need to let go of? Which in my case, I had, like, it took me time, but like voluntary willing to let go of and really like do what needs to be done to make the change. And so I think it's a really good time to assess that. I think the pandemic energy, I feel like in the very beginning, or at least like this time last year, people were really starting to assess that. And now the energy feels different to me. I feel almost like it's spun on its side, and now people are more anxious. And I was speaking to somebody yesterday about it, and they're like, the energy is just insanity. And I was like, it is insanity. That's how it feels. And so, like, what are you going to do with that? Do you want to stay in that, or do you want to really look at what are the other options for you, and what does that mean?
I love that, because that's what I've been seeing, is that the people who are centered in themselves seem to be kind of riding what's going on. The people that are letting the world lead them are really, really struggling right now, really struggling. So for our beautiful listeners, I'm wondering, maybe they find themselves in that situation where they're wanting to make that change. Is there one thing that you would recommend, one simple thing that they could do today to start to become a leader in their own life? What do you think that might be?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I would guide them to do is stop and really listen to what their inner voice is saying. What is your what is your intuition saying to you about where you are? And really, does that feel right? And then become curious about that. If I am not feeling like where I am is the right place for me, what does that look like? What could that be like? How would I want to feel if this isn't how I want to feel? So just to stop and start becoming curious about where they are and where they think it would be different for them.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jen, I know people are going to want to find out more about your work and what you do. So let's share with them. So we have Learning to Lead You, and tell us a little bit about that program, and when does it start, and where we can find out information. So it starts in February of 2022.
It starts on 2/2/22.
Oh, I love that.
And I did just notice that we're doing this on 1/11.
Oh,
So
that's right. We are. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm very in tune to numbers. Yeah, it starts on February 2nd, and it goes for 4 months. It finishes February, March, April, May, the end of May. We meet 3 Wednesdays a month. And you can register now for that and find out more information on my website, symmetrics.com/LTLY.
That stands for Learning to Lead You. So Symmetrics, I'll have this in the show notes, but in case people don't know where to find the show notes, which I get people say that a lot. Symmetrics is spelled S as in Sam, ZYMETRICS.com. And then it would be /LTLY.
Yeah. And you can also visit jensymansky.com and it'll get you to the same place. Um, yeah, we meet as a group for an hour and a half, 3 Wednesdays a month. And we go through lots of self-awareness exercises, values, strength. What is your energy telling you? We look at limiting beliefs and how you overcome those. So all of these things that help you become more in touch with yourself.
I love that. I love that. And if people do want to work with you more one-on-one, maybe they want to do more of kind of an intensive thing, they can do that as well, right?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of the same stuff, just kind of more intimate, and we go a little bit deeper. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, they could just email you directly, jen at symmetrics.com. Is that right?
Yes, and there's also a Let's Connect tab on my website where they can
Okay.
reach there. So either way, they'll get in touch with me.
Okay, let me write that down. There's a Let's Connect. So I'll pull that in the show notes as well.
Okay.
All right. As Julie says, any last heart flares, any last thoughts that you have that you want to share that we haven't talked about?
I'm just grateful. I feel really grateful in my heart for this opportunity. I feel grateful for the chance to be able to share this with others, and I know that there's so many women out there who have such potential to learn to lead themselves, and so yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah. I will say, I just highly recommend if you haven't even an inkling that you resonate with Jen, which who doesn't resonate with Jen? She's awesome. But if you really feel like this is for you, I highly recommend that you check it out, reach out to her. If you need to ask some questions, you can fill out that contact page and just ask her some questions. But I think the time is really ripe for this type of thing right now. And I know people that have gone through Jen's training and her previous things that she's offered. And what they have told me, like the transformation that happens is really deep, really incredible, and becoming friends with like-minded people, like-hearted people who support you even after the program. So to me, that part is also priceless. The way that you're able to create this beautiful community of souls who are really make a safe enough space that you can have deep transformation. And I know you specialize in that, creating that really safe space for people.
Yeah.
So I highly encourage people to do that. And I will put all that info in on the show notes. Yay. Thank you so much, Jen. I so appreciate you being here. I'm so happy that we finally got to do this and that we're going to let everybody know that this is one of the ways that they can magnify their miracles. So, beautiful listener, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you. If you did enjoy this episode, please share it with your friends, share it on your social media, whatever it might be. Let people know about the fabulous Jen Szymanski. And if you could, the most helpful thing is to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps me out so much. If you do leave a comment, I always answer the comments, so feel free to leave a comment. Be happy to do that. And remember, the key to magnifying your miracles is to know that your miracle is already here. Thank you so much, my friend. Bye-bye.